Hello my friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Spike and in today's video I'm going to show you how to get GTR2 to run in VR. If you're new to the channel then do consider subscribing, any support is greatly appreciated. Heading towards the 1000 subscriber milestone next, having recently punched through the 500 subscriber threshold. So thanks for the support, getting me to that first big milestone, and I'm looking forward to seeing where things go in 2026. So this is a request from a channel viewer. Someone wanted to know how to get this to run in VR, so I figured I'd oblige, because there isn't a huge amount of detail on YouTube as to how to get this set up, and some people just prefer learning from visual references. So this is kind of how I've done things and how I've got things to work, and if you're having any issues and what I go through here doesn't work, then just jump in the comments and I should be able to help you some way or direct you to some sources that might be of use. So first things first, I'm running the Steam build of GTR2, which should be fairly cheap now. This is a 20-year-old game, and yeah, it was released in 2006, so it should be available pretty cheap, especially in the sales. I think I got mine for like less than a 10 MI copy, so I was quite lucky with how much it cost versus how much I've got out of it in terms of playtime and hours. And as a 20-year-old game, I have updated it with a HQ anniversary patch, which is essentially a package mod that updates the game, things like the track models, car models, liveries, and then some AI improvements and tweaks, and even things like splash screens and HUD elements, to name a few of the things that I guess just quality of life improvements, because again this is a 20-year-old game and it's not a necessity for this mod. But one of the things that's good when it comes to installing it is it runs you through a command box that essentially lets you choose all the settings in quite an easy way without having to delve into the depths of the game files. So I would recommend looking at how to get HQ anniversary patch installed. I won't go into it in detail on this one, but it's essentially a game of dropping the patch files into your game files for GTR2 and then running through this command box. And the reason I mention that in particular is because one setting on there is kind of important. It's not, again, essential, and you can access it through the game files and without the anniversary patch. But on one of the pages it asks you to set your FOV, which is obviously quite important when it comes to setting up VR correctly, and it does in there suggest the FOV degree for optimum VR usage, which is 72. I believe it's 72, and that is on that page. You just have to hit option 9 to select that for your FOV, and that will in your game or user data, that will set your sort of view settings as to where they need to be for VR. Once you've done that, you need to install the Crew Chief GTR2 enhanced plugins, and I'll put the links to downloads and to useful guides and stuff in the description. And essentially that is going to be a RAR file or a zip file, and if you just extract the contents of that to your GTR2 game folder. I've got my GTR2 files in my documents. I've got a few different builds of the game and I've taken that out of my Steam files, but your GTR2 game files will probably be in your Steam folder under Common. That's where your Steam games will be installed. So if you go and extract all of your all of the contents of that zip file, which I'll link in the description, into your GTR2 game folder, that'll put a couple of bits into kind of the base folder for GTR2, and then it will also add a plugins folder. At that point, what you want to do is run the game and just go into the menus and then come out of the game. And what that's going to do is, in that plugins folder, it will already have I think a CCGEP.dll, but it's the process of launching the game I've just been rear-ended. One second, let me just rejoin the track. So I think it was bloody Portugal. Yeah, so the booting the game will generate a CCGEP, so a Crew Chief enhanced plug or GTR2 enhanced plugin .ini, which is an initializer. And that initializer, what you need to do is open that in a notepad on Windows, and in there you can just scroll down to a setting which I'll highlight. I can't remember exactly what it says off the top of my head, but it's something like enable VR rendering, and the value by default next to that will be 0, and you're going to want to delete that 0, and you're going to need to put a 1 there instead, and that's going to tell the game to boot in VR. So once you've done that, just make sure you save the notepad so that it retains that adjustment to that setting. And then from there you should be able to boot GTR2 in VR. So the way I do it is going into the game files and booting GTR2 from the game folder rather than through Steam, and I've just found it to be a bit more stable that way. And sometimes it will just default open the config. So there, just set the settings in that you normally set in there. And then from there you should be able to run VR. So I run a MetaQuest 3S. It's kind of an entry level VR headset, I'd say, and we'll put all sort of my PC specs in the description. But what's nice about GTR2 is it's not a very demanding game because it's 20 some years old now. You should be able to get this to run on a gaming laptop, and if you did want to experience VR and maybe you're a console player with a kind of semi-decent gaming laptop, you might be able to get away with this if you've got a VR headset running around. If you want to experience this is how I first experienced VR. I had a gaming laptop, a MetaQuest 3S, and I hooked them up, and this was the experience, and I thought it was really good actually, and because I thought it was so good I ended up investing in a better PC build so that I could run VR in sort of more up-to-date games. And you'll see on the channel that I've run some AMS2 in VR, I've done a bit of AC as well, and it's a good way of getting into sim racing in VR through GTR2, because it is an easier one for the system to handle. One thing that is kind of a caveat, I guess there is a caveat to that, and that is the steering rotation of the wheel in GTR2 is locked at 240 degrees. So it means that for your wheel to match the in-game animation, which is kind of essential for that connected feeling in VR, or that sense of connection to the car and connection from your hands to the wheel, you do need to... Oh shit, just try not to crash. Yeah, I'm on the sand pit here. And this is quite a good example of it because it kind of illustrates my point. One thing you need to do is you need to set your wheel rotation to 240 degrees, because then it's going to match the in-game animation. The problem with that is that's actually quite a low range of rotation. I think it's because when GTR2 released there wasn't much in the way of sim racing hardware that actually went beyond that level of rotation. It was all sort of spring-loaded wheels, I imagine, back then. So yeah, 360 degrees max and probably not even that much rotation. So yeah, it does mean that the feeling and the steering is quite twitchy, and it's okay for the most part. You can kind of get used to it, but when you have an incident and you want to sort of make a small correction to the car, you can over input, I guess, and that kind of happened on the way into that chicane there. It's quite twitchy, as you can see. I'm not doing a lot in terms of input there, but it's having quite a big impact on the steering rack in the car. So just something to consider. If you run GTR2 not in VR, the best way of sort of circumventing that is taking the animation out entirely, moving the camera forwards, and then setting the rotation to whatever you want, because the animation won't be there to cause that kind of real world to virtual world discrepancy that you would otherwise see. So yeah, I guess that is the main caveat with GTR2 in VR, is that rotation, but otherwise it is a really fun experience, and you do kind of acclimatise to it, and you start being a bit more sensitive with the steering, because that's what it needs, and then it becomes an enjoyable one to play here in VR. And even kind of running through this and trying to instruct you on how to get it set up has been fun for me driving around here, especially when you're racing hard and you want to get results. You know, you're going against the AI on a higher difficulty setting with a more familiar car track combo. I've just picked a couple of random ones here just to kind of make this video happen. But yeah, when you're actually racing hard against the AI, it does make some very good moments, and I've had some really good races. Laguna Seca, I think I raced at Suzuka as well in a Honda, the NSX, that was a GT or a Super GT mod, the Japanese stuff at Suzuka, and I took a Morgan around Spa. So yeah, it's a good one to race in VR. Corkscrew down here in GTR2 is great in VR, so would recommend, even though the steering rotation is a bit weird. Amongst all my spiel, we have in fact finished the race. I've no idea where we finished, but we're on the cooldown lap currently, so at least we've got to the end of it in one piece. And I think, yeah, let me know in the comments what your favourite VR sim racing experience is. I have to say, out of all the VR I've tried, GTR2 probably sits in the top 2 or 3. I think it's a toss-up between AC and AMS2. I think AMS2 is a great sim racing sandbox. It's quite forgiving, and it's a good fun sim for VR, especially with all the different car classes and stuff and the multi-classing. It's a good one to do. and then the sort of variety available in AC is good. But then there's something charming about this sort of early 2000s sports car racing here in GTR2, and I do very, very much enjoy it. So yeah, I'm interested to hear your thoughts, and hopefully for the channel viewer that was hoping to get this set up, I hope this has been useful, and let me know if you've got any questions in the comments as to how to make it work if it doesn't work initially. The guide is also a really good reference point, so Crew Chief does have a plug-in guide that goes with the plug-in, and I'll link that in the description. It's just a massive PDF with loads of stuff in, and I'm sure if you need to troubleshoot there'll be some useful guidance in there. But that is how to get GTR2 to run in VR. Once again, if you are new to the channel, a subscription would be hugely appreciated. I've been really enjoying growing the channel over the last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing its growth continue in 2026. It's a great like hobby to have, I guess. Sim racing and also the content creation side of thing has been something I've really enjoyed over the last year. So yeah, any support to keep that going would be awesome. We're just pulling into our sort of pit box here, and we'll back up into the garage and have a look at the results. I've got no idea where I came in class, but if we look down here, it should say. So we were P32, and I don't know what position we were in class, third or fourth maybe, but yeah, a good race. And again, this is even more engaging when you're like going full throttle against AI on a high difficulty setting around a familiar track. It's a really good one to do. I'm going to leave this one here for today. If you enjoyed it, then thanks very much for watching and getting to this point, and I shall see you in the next one.